Here we go. Ready?
There's no conversation.
Yeah, but we're on now. So.
I'm
Bob Nelson.
I'm Tracey White.
I'm Pastor Johnny Leckie, and this is the Compass Conversation podcast.
From a higher level.
From higher, I feel like I'm looking up to the sky. That is kind of weird.
Yeah, we faded the bottom.
We will follow you. You have the name above every name. We will follow you, King Jesus.
And we're back. I wait for that sip. That's the cue.
going to order today.
This isn't even coffee.
Can we go on order today?
How you doing, Johnny?
Let's do it.
Johnny, how you doing?
I feel like... Wait a minute. Who's watching this? I felt better.
The whole world is watching this.
It's what I would normally say anyway. I'm feeling a little...
Well, they saw you cough yesterday, so
Yeah.
we know there's something going on.
That's true. I've done better, but I'm feeling much better than I did yesterday.
Why'd you cough my way?
Who do I kill? Who do I kill?
It's just an allergy thing, and it becomes an upper respiratory.
Yeah.
I had a COVID test. I'm free and clear. At least I was before the weekend.
Yeah, but the schools are closed.
They're closed. That's right.
They did.
Well, see, and that's just it. I mean, I was telling you guys earlier, we get the message, I don't know, what was it, about 10:30 at night, last something like that. Looking up. It's like...
Nice.
Sorry, Julie.
We need the signs that, laugh.
Yeah. A lot of applauding and laughing over there.
So just make up your own.
Anyway, so when we got the phone call that we had a snow day today, 10:30 last night, I was already dead asleep. Leona says, "Oh, snow day tomorrow," and I was just going, yeah. I had because I was just dead to the world. So it would have been a sick day for me otherwise.
Yeah.
But all's well. I enjoyed, being home. I'm glad that didn't have to come to that. So Leona and Melissa are carving pumpkins today.
Cool.
So we've got, Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown playing.
Nice.
And then we had to watch my favorite old-timey show, comedy of all time, maybe one of my top 10 all time, The Ghost and Mr. Chicken.
See,
Huh.
speaking of which, I just got to say it, because if I don't say it, I'm going to forget.
Say it.
Is
What?
Charlie Brown Christmas won't be on TV this
Yeah,
year.
that's right, yeah.
Aw.
They took it off. Apple TV got the rights for that. And
Really?
Here's hoping they don't edit out the good parts.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Another reason not to like Apple.
But if you'd like to be, probably shouldn't contact us. Because Bob doesn't like you.
Well, we'll take your money.
Johnny at compassdenver.com. Thank you.
It's kind of weird because I have an iOS device right here
We love
Johnny.
and an
Here's
Android device. So I got both.
it. Yeah, we're good. Technology.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how I'm doing. So I'm just sort of here. I can't wait to hear what all you guys talk about tonight.
Glad you're on the mend.
I'm on the mend. I'm getting better. I'll be better soon.
I'm thinking about doing just one camera. Our camera 3 is still flaking out a little bit. So if we stay on that camera, which is really the Bob and Morey cam.
Mm-hmm. This camera?
See, yeah, it just flickered. So
We'll just start calling it Blinky.
Blinky
Little
Blinky
Blinky
cam.
over
Yeah.
Well, let's move around. Tracy. Unless you like just take a...
See, and this one,
Oh.
I'm a little blocked, but that's okay, I think. I don't know.
For anybody who's listening to this and not watching it, I have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I'll move for you.
I know.
Yep.
If you just want the audio, just kind of close your eyes and picture us running through 3 different cameras and having
Unless
fun
you're
with it.
driving.
Yeah, unless you
So, anyway.
Yeah.
unless you're driving,
Close your eyes.
pull over and close your eyes.
Call.
Tracy, how are you doing?
So doing
man?
really tired. So Kathy and I decided to watch a movie early in the evening. We watched Avengers Infinity War.
Oh, yeah, good.
And around between 9 and 9:30, I think it was closer to 9:30, we were like, yeah, let's just go ahead and watch Endgame.
Yeah, well, I mean,
That's a long movie.
What are you gonna do?
And so at midnight, we went to bed. And then sometime a little bit before 5 a.m., the neighbor was out blowing snow with his snowblower. So, yeah, tired. And then had an appointment at the DMV. Had to wait 4 weeks for this appointment, right? So finally got in there to get the plates for M's car, right?
Yeah.
And apparently the dealer didn't give me one required document, which is because it's an out-of-state title, I need a VIN verification. And so I'll be online tomorrow to make another,
Rats.
4-week appointment, try to get it handled between now and then. So other than that, Kathy and I are both in ketosis, and
Right, the old keto.
it hurts.
I've been watching you.
We're doing good.
Good.
So
Good. Mr. Robert, how are you doing?
we got you on Blink. You're on Blinky Cam.
You're on Blinky Cam.
Evidently doing swimmingly. Or sliding.
Sliding.
Something like.
It is. Watch.
Did it flicker?
It did.
I caught it out the corner of my eye.
3 times now.
Oh.
Hey, bro, keep looking at it. It won't flicker. If you're looking at it, oh,
Oh, man.
I guess you're just not blessed. Even though, Johnny evidently likes you more than it does Tracy.
yeah, coughed on me.
Yeah, it was I don't know. It's been a rough week, just with issues with Joy's teeth and some other stuff. So, but life will go on.
Keep talking. Let's just get you in my zone.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. But today was pretty decent. Work was nice and light. So and classwork is going okay. So yeah, I don't know. Life is okay.
Aren't you in your final class?
Yeah, in the final class, yay, 7 weeks left.
Nice.
Less if I can push myself a little bit more. So
Yeah.
but it's a lot of reading. Actually, more reading this class than any other one I'm thinking at this point. So yeah, each book's about 400, 500 pages long, and there's 5 of them.
Oh, my.
Ooh, that is a lot of reading.
Good grief.
Yeah.
It's like Dune 1, 2, 3.
Again, good reads, but very long.
Very long.
And yeah, the Goodreads exactly. The like the book that I'm reading, the one that I've been focusing on the last couple of days is on how do I explain this? It's on how we can integrate the good parts of like psychotherapy and stuff, the things that actually work with biblical counseling. And for the most part, most of my other classes have said, no, don't do that. You can't do that. But it doesn't make sense in a lot of ways. I'm a very science-minded guy, right? And so I want to, the Bible answers tons and tons of questions, most of the ones that we really need to know. But what about some of the other stuff that it doesn't address? So, like, for example, I read a book where it's talking about trauma and how when somebody goes through trauma, it actually affects the chemistry of the brain, and you can see it on CT scans and stuff. So, how do we work that into biblical counseling? And so I'm looking forward to getting the principles on it to be able to do that with this book. And I think,
So the question would be, has anybody done a study on prayer changing your brain chemistry? Or
yes.
And it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So I'm sure when God said, hey, don't worry, pray about it, he actually knew what he was talking about. We should deal with trouble and trauma and stuff like that.
Exactly. So there's a definite like when peace is happening, more endorphins and the positive chemicals and hormones in the brain are definitely being released. On the flip side, when you are in distress and in sin, you're getting a lot more of the like cortisone and stress chemicals dumping through your body because something's wrong.
It just kind of makes sense. There's some common sense approach to that. But that's very cool. I'm interested to talk with you after you finish that book.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. We all feel about this much smarter now. Thank you, Bob.
What Coach would say, rub some dirt on it. But just saying.
Walk it off.
Some bacon on it. All right, man. How are you doing?
Oh, see.
This year, so
Yeah, my wife
you
is
gotta
here.
say,
My lovely wife, my beautiful wife. I love you, baby.
just keep in mind whatever you say. She's right there.
She's right there.
Tell me how-
What happened to your head?
Had nothing to do with ice
Sorry for
or sliding down a ramp
surfing.
Yeah,
or trying to
falling.
knock Tracy's fence down.
You almost succeeded.
The top is the bottom. I'm just saying.
For the end on, was it Monday? What was it? Thursday.
Thursday.
Last
Yeah.
Thursday.
Yeah, Morey's going down the little ramp outside the studio here, and it was covered in ice.
Yeah, the
Morey-
no stick slip surface
Yeah, the no
was
slip surface.
Was
was
very
covered in
slippery.
ice. It was
Yes, it
very
was.
slippery. Yeah.
And you surfed down. I watched you. I mean, great form, too. I mean, you're just like, what?
Da-na-na-na.
Got to the
And
end,
then the bottom.
wiped out,
Wiped out,
head right into the fence.
head right into the fence. And one of these days I'll get to live that down. And we won't talk.
But today is not that day.
But it was awesome once we knew, okay.
Yeah.
So today is very, and so I wore my long shorts.
Are they jeans?
Oh.
I did. I wore my long shorts.
Wow.
I don't really like jeans. They make me itch.
Okay.
TMI alert, TMI.
They're just itchy. I like shorts.
When my son used to wear these pants, those kinds of pants, I would say, are those long short pants or short long pants?
Well- Call them capris.
Are you wearing? Oh,
I'm called out of my fashion.
that's only a
We're not going there again. Tracy.
Story. Not part of this podcast.
Julie had to go run some errands. She had low tire pressure, ended up a nail in the tire.
Oh,
So she was out taking care of that, and it was getting time where I got, and I was going to get ready to come here, and I walked outside, looked at my car, it is just covered in snow,
mm-hmm.
and so I got the snow shovel, and I was out there scraping it in my trying not to get snow in my lawn. But finally, she got back. She had to go to the store and get a haircut too. So it's just hard to tell what she got.
So you get it all pulled back. Like,
Yeah.
She got all 4 hairs cut.
There it is.
So
It's a shame you can't see. Unless you'd like to
It
show.
was one of those.
She did.
if you'll just take me to the podcast. So that
I gotcha.
is why I rode with her today.
Excellent.
Very good.
So, other than that, everything's good. No blockers. I kind of feel like I'm in stand up, like we do agile methodology at work. Stand up. You tell what you got going and what we're working on, what you are working on, and if there's any blockers, no blockers.
Stand up. I thought that was.
About to say, everybody,
I was waiting for the joke, and I'm like, oh, wait,
right.
punchline?
It's not funny. It's not funny.
Then why am I laughing?
Yes.
stand up
it
is
is.
not funny. All right, guys. Well, that's all the chatterty chatter. What do you guys want to yak about tonight?
Sex.
Okay.
Now that we have
Well, there's the thing. I honestly I had more stuff to talk about. And it's tough to time on big Sundays, particularly here, because, the truth is, you look at you slice it down to how much I actually spoke. It's not that long, but it was time to wrap up.
45 minutes.
It wasn't 45 minutes. It was not. It was like 38.
You may be right.
But yeah, no, I didn't want to lead with that because, and I'm not even sure, honestly, because I wasn't feeling that great even yesterday, which is probably good because I mean some of that stuff, you want, but yeah, I'm not even sure I made the full point because it was a contrast going on in how we respond when someone says to us or points out our own sinfulness.
You're doing it wrong. Yeah.
You're doing it wrong. And most people often go, it's like, I'm okay with you telling about all the general sin in the world, but once it starts, the finger is pointing right at me. Oh, you mean what I did or am doing is a sin? Who are you to tell me? It's like we kind of rear up sometimes. But wanted to illustrate through that story. I felt bad I didn't get to talk about John the Baptist enough. Right? More time talking about stupid Herod and Herodias. The Herods. But yeah, I mean, not everyone does. It's like when the truth of the gospel or anything, the truth from Scripture begins to cut into us, it is sort of like the parable of the soils because you will either harden your heart and like, why are you picking on me? And this isn't wrong, and I don't believe that, and, or whatever. Or it cuts you to the quick, and the Lord draws you into a state of being willing to repent and to turn from that. So sort of a godly sorrow kind of sinks in.
Mm-hmm.
And the contrast was clear in the way you expressed it. So you did get that point across.
Oh, well, good.
But you don't marry your married niece.
Yeah, don't do that.
Right. Yeah.
And then lusting after your grandniece.
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't get
That's like, nope.
No.
Back up.
What's his name? Got all those ideas for Game of Thrones.
exactly.
Actually, it was some French court that he was based a lot of his stuff on. That was that actually put Herod a little bit to shame.
Yeah.
So, which it takes effort, I'm thinking.
Well, yeah, I mean, and then you got into people like Caligula and others. I mean, it became humanity distanced from God and his conviction of sin and the way he's designed us to be can get pretty messed up, as we know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, isn't that what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah? That separation was so great.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think it's all about one sin that was being committed, but it was.
There were multiple things.
They were.
It was kind of
very, very horrible.
The straw that broke the camel's back, as it were.
Yeah, many things. So the other thing I was thinking about was how people react whenever they're called out on something.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not so funny, but it's kind of a funny thought, thinking about how people will tend to try to sometimes just go to justifying their actions. Well, it's not really cheating, because they did it to me first or something like that, or it's not really lying. It's a little white lie. It's not,
I've come up with a word for that. Most people call it rationalization.
Yeah.
But that has rational in it, and none of what you're doing is rational.
rational, right.
So what makes more sense is calling it excusifying.
Excusifying. Tagline, excusifying. Yeah.
Excusify.
Thank you, Bob.
Sorry, I'm excused.
We really do appreciate that.
I do want to say this too, because there's always this tension. There's some pastors who get up and they almost with glee, slam whatever sin that they personally think that they've not had to deal with. If they want to.
Yeah.
And I'm
someone.
definitely not that guy. I don't know how you can. I know, and I mentioned this, that we're all broken. So if I said, hey, Bob, that was a lie. You've been lying to some people or whatever. I'm just making something up.
I only misspoke on purpose.
I would say that, or I would pull you aside and mention that to you, maybe privately or whatever, but never with like, man, I can't wait to slam him about that. And also knowing that I also have lied,
Yes.
right?
Right.
And so there's that tension with every pastor that they have to. I'll just do a little therapy with you guys here tonight. When you love somebody so much, when you care about people, when you want to speak truth into their life, and you know that it's going to be like a burr in their saddle, and they might not even like you if you say it, there is that temptation to just soften it up as much as you can, and that's never helpful. That's never helpful in any way. So I always try to make sure that if I say that lie, or if I say, guys, the Bible is telling us right here that lying is wrong. When I say that, I'm saying something that is true, but at the same time, I'm also not saying, and you're a liar, and you're a liar, and you're not a liar.
Now you just lied.
Would not be lying.
That would be a lie.
So anyway, yeah. So that's just a weird tension, and I've worked with people way back. I remember one pastor, he was about to say something that he knew there were people in his congregation that were probably dealing with whatever he was about to say, and he was so nervous, you could tell that he was not comfortable saying this, so he would say something like, all right, everybody, you need to kind of curl your toes a little bit because I'm about to step on some toes. It was just kind of like, say it. All of that. I'm not judging you. I'm not judging you. This is what it says.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
the woman at the well, Jesus offers a really...
I'm sorry, Bob.
that's funny.
That was in my notes. Was the woman at the well?
Because he answers that issue very well when he talks. He's actually talking about worship, and so if we go back to question number 4,
Exactly.
or 5, sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, whichever question that was about worship being
She tried to change the subject. The woman at the well.
Yeah, she tried to change the subject to worship, and where are we going to worship if this is true and whatnot? And Jesus' response is we're going to worship in grace and truth. And with that's exactly how we answer people on everything that we bring to their attention.
Yeah.
The sin or anything, it's going to be with grace and with truth. We've got to have that ability to understand that we're coming from the same broken place, but also be truthful at the same time.
Yeah, Woman of the Well was absolutely in my notes, and I did not have time to go into it because I was going to show the contrast between Jesus and the woman at the well, and you guys may or may not know this story very well, but and the contrast between her and the other woman, Herodias, when she's confronted with her sexual sin, and it was sexual sin as well as a lot of other things as well. Hers was like, I hate you. I hate you for even saying that. I hate you for even saying that anything I'm doing is wrong. Who are you, you dusty old prophet John the Baptist? I'm going to get your head. We are going to cut your head off. At the woman of the well, Jesus he's pretty bold because he says something about going to tell her husband. And she says, I don't have a husband. And Jesus, okay, not some mean Pharisee, he goes, you are right.
You've had 5.
You've had 5 husbands, and the one man you're living with now is not your own.
Yeah.
And so he basically said, you are living in a sinful sexual relationship with somebody, and you haven't gotten this right at least 5 times.
Yeah.
And even for the culture, I mean, it's pretty. But it was, she was not a Jew. But anyhow, that's pretty pointed. And her response was not, how dare you? How dare you? Response was one of, she went back. You got to see this man. He's told me everything I've ever done. And could he be the Messiah? She was convicted of the sin.
Yeah.
She saw who he is. Because there's something about when you know in your heart that something is not right. And before knowing Jesus, you don't really have that. You may have some sort of moral sense of certain things that are right and wrong, but there's no conviction of something that is not pleasing to the Lord. And so, so I was going to, it's so cool that you mentioned that, but I just ran out of time, so I jumped quickly to David instead, which was probably a better choice at that moment.
Yeah, that's
We kind of got called out on that though it wasn't really I wouldn't, I don't know if it would be characterized as sinful, but it was definitely not a glorifying activity. When Morey and I were playing in that band,
Oh, right. Yeah.
and the singer would write the songs, right? And the subject matter was not God friendly, not Christ driven,
It was worldly.
very
That's
worldly.
What it was. It was worldly.
And a good friend of ours, at one point said, "You guys doing the right thing?" Basically, that's
would
what
you
he said.
bring
You
your
guys,
kids
you guys
to
doing
that
it?
kind
Yep.
of thing?
And we were both like, you're right.
And
You're
we
right.
stopped.
And we stopped.
Yeah. Well, it's just tough. I mean, there's a tendency that a lot of people have, even Christians, to compartmentalize their life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a Christian when I'm around Christian people. I do whatever I want in this setting. Or I'm a totally different person. I had a guy who was in our church many years ago also. He was an older dude. He'd only been a Christian for a very short time. But the church was praying about, I think it was purchasing property or something like that. And somewhere in that conversation, he made the statement, well, yes, that's church stuff, but this is business. Right? He just made sort of like some weird, like there was a total difference between, rather than we are Christian and we will do business in a Christian way,
Yeah.
Right.
as God would be pleased with how we would do it. Right. He was like, no, this is church, this is
I think we kind of did that a little bit with music. We've done that in the past.
Probably. That's easy to do. And the truth is that if you give your life to Jesus,
Yeah.
and again, it's a lifelong process. It's seldom comfortable as he's, whittling us into who he's called us to be. But often there are habits of unholiness. There's things that are in our life that we do that aren't pleasing to him, that when we first gave our life to Christ, we didn't even think about. But now we begin to see by layer certain things that we need to start doing. And I say that first because it's the most positive way.
Yeah.
There's certain things we need to start doing we did not do before.
A lot of stuff we need to.
And a number of things we just need to, that's what I was saying about repentance, or the idea of repentance. I used to think of it just as simply a turnaround, right? It's not just that. It is a reckoning kind of thing. It's where you pause and you have a reckoning with God that what I am doing is offensive to God, or what I'm saying, or how I'm acting, or how I'm thinking, and you consciously turn from that thing or whatever it is, and you might fail again, and you need to repent again. So anyway, that compartmentalization it's a killer for Christian growth. I've toyed with it being one of the questions that we ask ourselves. Am I compartmentalizing my spirituality? Maybe we will. Maybe that's what I am.
Question 42.
Question number 42. Question number 136.
That's the meaning right there.
Julie and I are still going through the Old Testament. We're in the Old Testament right now and doing some Proverbs, and it talks, and I was trying to quickly look up, but I can't do anything quickly. So anyway, I was trying to look up, there is a proverb that states that criticism to a fool is like a cut, but to a wise man it is it's a lesson. And I'm trying to remember it. You know what I'm saying, right? You know what?
I wish I knew which
There's a bunch of
paraphrase because it's pretty good.
it's like yeah. There's more than
Yeah.
one, and I'm probably mixing a couple of them.
It's easy to do with the Proverbs because a lot of them are pretty repetitive.
Which
I didn't look at the time. I have to check the timer. Keep going.
Check
Keep
the
going.
timer. It is true that in our walk and in our growth, that in our we do seek wisdom. Julie and I pray specifically daily for that for specific situations, wisdom in different situations, and so whenever that conviction hits, it's not a cut. It is a building up. it grants more
Yeah.
wisdom.
Yeah.
So
It's like a
that's
surgical cut.
Yeah.
It's the kind that's good.
Yes.
That helps you get
Yes.
better. Yeah.
So,
That's
And-
true. And the truth is, and whenever we start talking about sexual things, again, I've got like a whole series I could do just on, sexual things and relationships or whatever. We probably need to do a marriage and relationship series of some kind.
Man, wait.
A blessed arrangement.
what brings us here today?
But I mean, it's safe to say, and in some settings this would not be true, but I mean, it would not be readily agreed to. But I think it's safe to say that all of us have had sexual sin in our lives. Right? We have, right? So when I call out things about, God does care about what we do sexually. He cares what we do with our mind. He cares what we do with our bodies. And we don't want to ignore him in that. And yet we say that with a lot of grace, right? So I think that's what I'm trying to get at with that. So whenever I talk about those kinds of things, it's not to slam. It's with the acknowledgement, hey, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? It's that kind of thing, right? I've failed, you failed, we've all failed, but it is important to start getting this right in our life.
And I think something really important to understand is that focus on sexual sin is for our own benefit. It's not for his benefit. For us, and like you said, he created us in a way that's what we do, right?
It's his idea.
If you do it his way, then there are a lot of situations that would just not happen.
Yeah.
Right?
So much pain would be avoided.
So much pain would be avoided. But because the world says, no, everybody gets to do this, right? Then we have a bunch of kids, a lot of kids out there who suffer because of choices that they make.
Yeah.
Or they get themselves into situations that if they would have done it God's way, they wouldn't have been in it. They wouldn't be in that situation. So,
And my heart goes out to them too, because
same, yeah.
And that's the thing about sexuality. I mean, like I said, it's God's idea. It's a powerful thing. It is a good thing. Some people think, the church is all against sex. Well, no. Oh man.
I went to
just in the right context is what
I went to a class on that or whatever, a lecture on it, and the lecturer was pointing out that the fact is the Bible has very few rules or whatever against, when it comes to sex. You can just don't do these very few things.
Right.
Don't sleep with your neighbor's wife. Don't have sex with animals. Don't hurt each other.
That had to be said. But
Yeah,
you know what?
I know.
That has to be said.
I know. It's crazy. There's just, and it's not even a big rule set.
No.
But everybody wants to break.
It's like-
Ooh, the list of things we shouldn't do. Let's do those. But that's the same for everything else.
Well, I was just thinking one of the best illustrations about it I've heard is that it's like your lawn, a beautiful green lawn and garden. It's all very beautiful in the front yard, but you get a couple of shovelfuls and put it in your living room. And you're like, what's this dirt doing in here, right? It's like it's taken out of the context for which it was designed and how it was best meant to be. And also, aside from that, I mean, we just said there's pain that people experience. Relationally, things can get so twisted and broken in terms of even your family support and what have you. You start just doing whatever feels right to you at any given moment. But also, it's just the simple futility and emptiness that pursuit brings about. If you and I'm saying it that way because I know a number of friends along the way. I remember one guy in particular that I was talking with my friend about who he was like he's needing some counseling, he's needing some help, and this other friend was a pastor friend of mine, and he said they met outside somewhere, and the guy said, I just need to talk to you, I just need to come clean with something. And he went and he opened up the trunk of his car, and it was just full of pornography. I mean, just like videos, magazines, all kinds of things. I'm dying. I can't stop. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I was never like this before. I'm dying. And he had to help him to see that this does not define who you are. This is something that has gotten a grip on you. And pornography, lust, all of those kinds of things are kind of like that old wolf trap, where they put the knife, right, a very sharp knife, and they put a little bait on it, and the wolf comes to the knife and begins to lick the knife. And he begins to cut his tongue, but he's still enamored with the bait, and he ultimately bleeds to death, consuming the thing that he's pursuing. That's how lust is.
Yeah.
It is insatiable apart from God's provision, forgiveness, and strength that he gives us. So that's why it's so important. It's a lot of people have ruined their whole lives
3 minutes.
by not getting this right.
3 minutes.
A lot of us learn the hard way, but and I picked this up because of the YouVersion app on here. But we've been given examples and instruction, and you know why?
Why, Morey?
Because God so loved the world that He sent His only Son, and whoever believes in Him will not perish but have eternal life. That's John 3:16.
That's John 3:16.
That is John
Read it.
3:16.
Oh, but I mean,
God loved us in spite of our failures, right?
Right.
In spite of our sinfulness, and in whatever category, whether it's sexual or whatever. It's the most I've talked about sexual anything
Yeah.
It goes
publicly in years.
goes back to David's example. He was generally a man after God's own heart, but so many times he failed on sexual. And generally, it was because of sex. It would be one of his first big blowouts was because a guy ticked him off, and he was kind of mad about the what was happening with the wife. So and it got worse from there. And unfortunately, one of the problems is he never dealt with it well. So Solomon, I think,
I was about to say
Solomon carried that on, and it ruined the kingdom. It was entirely because of things that he was not supposed to be doing sexually. That if he would have just been happy with his wife.
He exactly. Just a Song of Solomon. Just to stick with that, man.
Yeah.
Solomon.
Yeah, exactly.
If you'd only read your own words. Solomon was the wisest man who ever lived, but he was not didn't always do the wisest things.
1 minute.
Ever. We got 1 minute left.
Okay.
There's a little buffer, but yeah.
Well, hey, you know what? We talk about this stuff, is what I'm trying to say. Every Sunday, you can join us on Facebook, Compass Church Colorado. You can find out more at compassdenver.com. We'd love to have you as our guest this Sunday. All right, guys, final words.
Love you guys. Love everybody up there.
Up there.
You guys, likewise.
peace.
Grace and peace to you. That's all we have for tonight. We are out. Julie says bye.
Julie said bye.
Up